today, anybody going through hard times? How's your business today? Raise your hand if you have difficulty in your business. Anybody got any trouble with that? Anybody had any family members get laid off or any other issues like that? Anything else like that? Adversity, right? Everybody in this room has issues with adversity. What I'm going to talk about here for the next 30 minutes or so are some of the things that have happened to me in my business. That's really it. I don't claim to be I haven't cornered the market on adversity. I'm simply going to talk to you about some of the things that have happened to us, and hopefully these are interesting enough stories that you'll get some value out of it. Fair enough? Okay, I think we kind of did a commercial on ISI here a minute ago, but now what we do is technology, and it's fun stuff, audio and video type of podcasting, video conferencing, distance learning, where we have the instructor in one location teaching students from many miles away, right, Dave? We also do things with telemedicine, where the doctor is in one location, pretty cool application, and the patients are hundreds of miles away, getting expert care in cardiology, dermatology, and other issues of that nature in rural Southeast, where the doctors don't like to visit too often, right? And people don't like going to the doctor in those same locations. So it's a pretty neat stuff. But here's the thing, and you already saw this portion of it. We're a busy business, and it's going to have more relevance as I tell you the rest of the story about ISI. A lot of offices, a lot of people. One of the organizations that has been particularly kind to ISI is Inc. Magazine. Anybody ever heard of Inc. Magazine for small business? You're going to hear more about Inc. Magazine. Not just the fact we've been on their fastest growing list for several times, about 4 times in the last several years for the fastest growing private companies in the United States. But there's another part of the Inc. story that's going to get pretty intriguing for you, I'm pretty sure. And then also one of my favorite things to talk about as we do an introduction, we were the recipient of the first Kemmons Wilson Emerging Business Award. Now, this is the Memphis Business Alliance, and I'm going to throw something at somebody if they don't know who Kemmons Wilson was. So, Dennis, I'm going to ask you, this is teed up for you, buddy, right? Kemmons Wilson started a little company called, go ahead, Dennis. Thank you. I was in Chicago with a bunch of collegiate students and everything at this Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organization. And I asked that question in the whole room. Raise your hand if you know who Kemmons Wilson was. Nobody raised their hand. Anybody ever heard of Holiday Inns? Everybody raised their hand, so it's kind of interesting. Okay, so here's the awkward moment here, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you. How did ISI get started? Love to tell you the story. I'm this great technology guy, and I was in my garage like the Hewlett-Packard guys and everything, and I had an epiphany that I was going to start this video conferencing company. Where's Sharon Gardner? Okay, Sharon. Don't say anything, Sharon. So here's the thing. That didn't happen. What happened was on my 39th birthday, I got fired. And that was a pretty tough situation. On your birthday, no less, right? I actually remember getting a birthday card from the guy that fired me, and I went home and all this stuff and opened up the mailbox, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. But anyway, so I wasn't prepared to get into this life as an entrepreneur. Hadn't been kind of tracking that way. It just hit me out of nowhere. And as you can see, the birthday cake and the whole thing, very tough time at that point. So at that moment in time, when you're not prepared, you need to create income. I got 2 kids at home. I got a hungry dog, a hungry wife. I got people that need me. And I had, I think, 6 weeks worth of severance. So I had a little bit of money coming in, but I had large bills, and I had a large need. So that's how that year started of 1996. So hold on to this as I tell you the rest of the story. But I actually started the business after getting fired. And I suspect a lot of entrepreneurs started that way. But here's how the rest of the year went. And some of the stories, as you ponder the rest of the year, understand this. And I threw this in just at the last minute because I want you to understand when my mind went into from getting fired to let's go start my own business. Wow, wonderful. Everybody wants to do that, don't you? Raise your hand if you ever thought about starting your own business. Everybody in the room raise their hand. Of course, I got a great idea. Well, I had a great idea. I needed a job. I needed cash. I got to support the family. That's my great idea. Consider these statistics, though. 2008, 627,200 new businesses are launched. Look at the failure rate. Look at the failure rate. What is it, 595, 600? What are your chances to get a small business from startup, right, Dave, to success? Folks, not good. Not likely. And then here's the other part that's tough. over 43,000 just go bankrupt. Bankrupt's a pretty tough word, folks, right? It can destroy your life. So I go into this thing thinking, wow, I need a job. And then let's talk about that first year. Oh, it was wonderful. I've got no money. I got no contacts. I got a huge desire, though, because I got to feed that family, right? So I want to start a technology company. But here's the thing about technology. Wouldn't you think it'd be a good idea to start a technology company with some technology, like a computer? Well, I didn't have one, but I still needed to, I needed to get the company off the ground. So I borrowed some resources, and I started working on some things, and I found out that to start a business, you need money, right? We're the bankers in the room. Any bankers? Okay, a lot of bankers, right? So, to start the company, you need money. Well, the bankers, to evaluate a startup, you need what they call a business plan. Well, okay, great, that sounds really good. I knew nothing about how to do one of those, but I kind of did a crash course in it, but I still didn't have any technology other than some borrowed resources. Well, here's the deal. So I go around to all these banks, God bless them, they listen to me very patiently, but here was my business plan. And it was about, I'm taking a guess, about 8 pages long, really, even if you give credit for the quarter page or whatever this thing was. But here's the best part. It's in my book over here. Hopefully you guys are interested in buying it after the speech. But at the back part of the technology company, the startup, my pro forma to prove to the bankers I could make some money down the road was done on a Franklin planner sheet in columns and things. Pretty impressive, right? Remember the first banker? Excuse me. He says, Mr. Myers, you seem like a great guy. A lot of energy, salesy, all that stuff. Probably know your business pretty well. Yeah, I like to think so. Let me ask you something. Are those entries in there, are those hand typed? And I go, yeah. He said, have you ever heard of a product called Excel? So, suffice to say, this didn't go very far. But I did, through a contact with Junior Achievement, get started. And they gave an intro into some private investors, and we got rolling a little bit. In March of 1996. And God bless the free enterprise system. Next month, March 11th, 14 years of business. I'm so thankful. Okay, but it started kind of a wobbly start. The private investors get us going in March of 96. Well, guess what happens after that? Technology is a funny thing. It moves around a lot and everything, and it's very dynamic. And we were off to a slow start. So 3 months after the investors gave me that little bit of money, they decided, this just isn't moving quite fast enough for us. So we're going to pretty much bail out on it. And I'm talking about things you weren't prepared for. I go, we just got started. Well, we're sorry, that's the way it goes. So, no money, back to square one. Bankers that I had shown this wonderful plan to, I was no more equipped 3 months later to do much. So I go and I'd hired an engineer who happened to have, he was out of state up in Kentucky, and he happened to have his dad pretty well to do and everything, found a banker up there that said, you know what, I'll take you guys on and do a personal guarantee, so we got rolling again. Whopping $125,000, Dave, to pay off the $70,000 the private investor, so we got $55,000 to run off to do this multi-million-dollar deal together. Great, right? So that was approximately July of 96. So we refinance ourselves again, overcome adversity. We're going to go, we're putting everything at risk, but we're going to give it a try. And then interesting things happen. And this is a part of the story where, you're in small business and you like to think about things being very, separating business and personal life. Well, folks, if you figure out how to do that, you let me know. I don't know how that works in small business. Small business is emotional. You're putting yourself on the line, your family, your reputation, and everything. So it's difficult to separate those kind of things.